I first realized songwriting was like sort of viable option for my life when I got to write a song called All I Want for High School Musical, the series. Before that, I sort of just kept my songs to myself and like played them for my mom and my friends, but that was sort of the first experience where I wrote something that people like really believed in, that I believed in, and it kind of got heard by a lot of people, so it gave me a lot of confidence. Driver's License coming out has sort of immensely affected my songwriting process and my music, making brain, I guess. But I thought actually when it came out and when it started getting to be really successful, I thought that I was gonna get in my head about my writing and be like, oh, I'm never gonna write anything as good as Driver's License, and like fret about everything. But I actually really think it gave me a lot of confidence in my voice and in what makes my songwriting special, which I feel like is my vulnerability and honesty. And so kind of learning that that's what people resonated with kind of helps me with writing all of my other music. Hey, I'm Olivia Rodrigo, and these are my top 5 songwriting tips. My first tip, which I think is the most important one, is listen to music like a songwriter. I have grown exponentially from doing this. I think it is the best way to grow as an artist in any way is to draw on inspiration from people that you look up to. I literally will like listen to music that my idol made, watch all of their interviews, and then go back and be like, okay, I'm gonna like try to write a song like as if they were writing this song. And it just like completely like broadens your horizons and helps make your music just like that much better. I'm obsessed with the way that Taylor paints pictures, and her imagery is fantastic and her storytelling is just like insane. So I don't think I'm as good of a storyteller as she is yet, but I always try to like put aspects of that sort of narrative, singer-songwritery type lyricism in my songs. I think Lorde really teaches me a lot about like production and like actual music. I think she always makes such interesting choices, and so I try to do that. And also she's a brilliant lyricist as well, and she's super poetic, and you can tell that like lots of her songs started out as poetry, and so some of my songs start out that way too when I try to emulate her. Also a big like lyrical inspiration for me is Phoebe Bridgers. She's just like so like brutally honest and says stuff that you like wouldn't think of being in a song, and I think that's impactful and beautiful. And so I sort of try to do that as well. Another songwriting tip that I have is finished is sometimes better than perfect. I can't tell you how many times I've like sat at a piano and like been writing a song and been like, this is terrible, I should just quit, like this is so bad. But I like force myself to finish it, or at least like finish the idea or whatever, or like finish the verse and chorus. And lots of the times I come back and I'm like, oh wait, that was actually like great. Like I was getting like really in my head about it. And so you're never gonna learn from something if you just like throw it away the second you think it's not good, and you're never gonna learn how to like craft something good if you just like are waiting for like just like lock in a bolt of inspiration to strike you. Number 3, I think this sort of goes along with number 2 a little bit, really like showing up for your creativity and not just waiting for like a lightning bolt idea or like something to inspire you. I think sometimes you just have to work and write and create even when you don't feel particularly inspired, because I think when you continuously show up, you like show the universe that you are capable of bringing this idea to life and manifesting it in the way that it's supposed to be manifested. And like I'm like spiritual in that way, where I think that like the universe like pays attention to that and then will give you better ideas. So and that was sort of the exercise that I did over quarantine, is I like forced myself to write a song. Not force myself, that sounds sad and scary, but like I sat down at the piano and was like, okay, I'm gonna write a song every day of quarantine, and I feel like that made me a much better songwriter. And I think some of the ideas I wouldn't have gotten to jot down if I didn't make myself do that every day. So I think showing up is really important. It's more important than being talented or good at anything, because you can be super talented, but if you don't show up, what's the point? All right, 4th tip is to write songs for yourself and because you love it and you like to do it. The second that you sort of start writing a song with the intention of it being liked by other people, it loses its magic. At least for me, like if I ever like go on like Twitter or like whatever, or like look at people like consuming my song or criticizing it or whatever, and then I take that with me in my writing and I'm like, oh wait, but people won't like this if I do this, or like, oh, I have to do this if people like it. It just absolutely like ruins it. And I think you just have to be true to you when you're like writing all of that stuff and try to stay out of your head and do it because you love it. Don't do it for other people. Those are the best types of songs. It's actually super, super cool to see people relate to my songs. For a while I felt like I was like kind of weirded out, because I was like, oh, I kind of have this like really weird life. Like I've been homeschooled since I was in 7th grade. I'm on a set all day with like a bunch of like 45-year-old dudes. Like, is what I say going to resonate with other people my age? And so putting out driver's license and seeing people of actually all ages, male, female, everyone, sort of being like, whoa, like that took me back to a time where I was feeling like that, or oh, I'm feeling like that right now, this helps me so much. Like that was so cool to me to realize that, you know, honesty is always relatable, and you don't have to like try to relate to like large audiences, you just have to tell your story because, you know, humans are all so much more alike than we are different, and we're all feeling so much of the same things that we just don't talk about. The last songwriting tip I have is to read poetry, as much poetry as you can. I feel like that's really informs my lyricism. I think I have to start a song with a lyrical concept or idea. I'm like a very lyric, narrative, story-based songwriter, and everything else kind of is secondary to that. So in order to write a song that I like, it has to be either a poem that I like or like a concept or like a play on words that I can sort of go from. The hook of deja vu is when she's with you, do you get deja vu? And it's this sort of concept that I am really obsessed with, and I think something that my friends and I were going through, where it's like sometimes when you break up with someone and they get with somebody else, it sort of feels like everything that they're doing is recycled, which happens in every relationship, I think. And for the music video, we kind of didn't want it to be like super on the nose, like relationship-y. So I thought it would be really fun to do like a female stalker type music video, because I'm obsessed with Killing Eve. That's my favorite show of all time, and I was like, I want to do a music video like Killing Eve. And also I think it really ties into that like, do you get deja vu thing, because it's like these two girls like living really similar lives because they like want to be like each other. So yeah, I had a lot of fun making that music video. I think it's like a really kind of convoluted, weird, awesome music video. I think it's like perfectly creepy in the best way.